Hi, this is Paula Chilchick from Anecdote Sydney office. I'm going to be sharing another insight from my article, Stop Presenting the Strategy and Start Communicating It. We spoke last time about narrative structures and the clarity story. Now these are really important. They help take the audience on a journey from one state to another. But in and of themselves, they're not enough because it's very difficult to bring out the human connection when you're telling a high-level story. So how do we go about doing that if we're not Hollywood scriptwriters? We don't have time to go to film school or the budgets for special effects and musical scores. And if we want to do it at scale, we believe that there's a really effective way to do it, and it's actually the namesake of our company, is to tell anecdotes. These are small, detailed stories that fit with the overall structure or the narrative pattern and bring out, in very tangible human terms, examples and understanding of what we mean by the high-level story. So, for example, if at Microsoft, if they were talking about software cycles or part of their story was about the importance of quicker software cycles, there might be a story that an anecdote that the HR manager tells about how a particular individual's career was advanced or furthered by focusing on quicker software cycles. Or perhaps for the sales team, there might be a story about how a major customer was lost because the software cycles were too slow. Those sorts of tangible examples that happen to real people are going to be a lot more effective, or make the concepts a lot more effective, if you could intersperse them with the narrative structure. Now, there's different elements in terms of spotting or telling an anecdote that we think are really important. The first one is to make sure that you begin with a particular time and place. So in 2015 in Seattle, such and such happened in the headquarters. And also to make sure that you have a sequence of events. It's amazing how often people just speak in generalizations and there's no real movement of events happening. And of course, events happen to people or to characters. So the more you can stay away from the characters being generic organizations and focus on Mary in accounting or Gopal in human resources, the better. And that also allows you to bring in some dialogue. And then finally, there needs to be something unexpected when you're telling an anecdote that happens, or something that's interesting. And this all leads to having a particular business point being revealed. Because without a business point, while you might do it in a cafe or in the bar with your friend, in business context, we want to have a point to all of the anecdotes that we tell. Just as an example, a little anecdote that I share and often if I want to make a point to an executive and the importance of spending time on communicating the strategy, I tell a quick anecdote about the $400,000 lunch that I once had. I was a young management consultant many years ago, one of my first jobs, and this was in Sydney, Australia. We were tasked with coming up with an Asia strategy for a new large bank in Australia. And so we developed this strategy. We spent many, many late nights working through spreadsheets and eventually presented a 60-page deck overlooking Sydney Harbour and Governor Phillip Tower to our client. And there were a lot of nodding heads amongst the executive team, and they took us out to lunch, and the bill came to $400,000. And why did the bill come to $400,000? Well, it wasn't just an expensive taste in wine that perhaps some people had. In fact, what really occurred is we went back 6 months later, and the COO took us into his office very sheepishly and said, "We presented your strategy story, your 60-page deck, to our board, to a whole series of managers across the different regions and functions, and no one really got it. It didn't get any traction, and we've put it to the side now." So the $400,000 they spent on us in consulting fees really bought nothing more than just a good lunch with a nice view. Now that was a short anecdote that I can tell to an executive that helps make the point that no matter how much time you spend on the strategy, and if you've got a great deck, it's all going to be wasted. There's a certain amount of urgency if you don't spend time communicating the strategy. So just to recap, there's a couple of components, two main components when we're talking about an effective strategy story. One, as we spoke about, is the narrative structure that you use, the clarity story, and the movement, the journey from to. But then interspersed across that journey has to be a series of anecdotes, and they can be small little stories. They don't have to be grand dramatic stories, but small little stories focused on the human in a time and place with dialogue and with a business point that can really bring out the emotional connection and make it interesting for audiences to listen to.